Okay, everybody, if you haven't heard the news, ding dong ding, the Pope is dead. Ding dong ding, the Pope is dead. So, Pope Francis, 88 years old, leaves a legacy behind. I'm going to start off this conversation to say I am not Catholic. I'm not religious in the slightest. I am very agnostic, let's say. So, what is his legacy? The legacy of Pope Francis. Now, usually we could just chalk this up and say horrible person, horrible beliefs, horrible ideals, chalk it, the world's better off about it. But Pope Francis is a different case. Very interesting for a pope, especially in my lifetime. I've always gave props to this pope, when he deserved it. So let's go over a couple of things. The Pope and the good, bad, the ugly of Pope Francis. So, among his most contentious issues during his tenure was his outreach to the LGBTQ plus community. In 2013, just months into his papacy, he famously responded to a question about gay priests by saying, "Who am I to judge?" The remark made headlines around the world and signaled a shift in the church's tone, even if it did not alter core doctrine. So what does that mean? Basically, and it even says here, he allows the blessing of same-sex couples, but he still does not allow them to be married in the Catholic Church. I don't understand why you would be a same-sex couple and want to be married into the Catholic Church. They all hate you, but that's a no. That's a no. Like, okay, I'm glad that you moved like 2 steps to the left, but really, what, they can't get married? And the same thing with priests. The priests still can't get married. Even though, like, what this old archaic thinking is what pushed the priests to do all kinds of unspeakable things. But it's funny, he was doing the right thing when you receive pushback from Catholic bishops in other places. Like when you get a lot of pushback from the conservative wing of the party, you're probably doing something right. I feel like that way about anything. So, for him to be a quote unquote liberal pope, a progressive pope, I mean, what else could you call him? But so he did make small steps for the gay community and the trans community and in the church, but it'll still, I feel like, never be a truly welcome place for those individuals. Now, for his, let's look at what he did for climate advocacy. Pope Francis was also outspoken about the climate crisis, dedicating, I can't pronounce that, to the issue in which he urged action to care for God's creation in the face of climate change and environmental degradation. He urged political leaders to support the consensus of the world that climate change and other environmental ills have created an ecological crisis that is harming the world's poorest the most. He called for an urgent action to heal our wounded creation. And in 2020, he said the COVID-19 pandemic has shown how the earth can recover if we allow it to rest, and must spur people to adopt simpler lifestyles. Okay, again, it's hard to argue with this, especially when a lot of the Christian faith don't even believe in climate change. So you could take this as a W. He was for it, and he was an advocate for it. Now, did it make a huge difference? Not particularly. America, despite wanting to be the Christian nation, definitely did not follow the Pope's direct on that. So for divorced and remarried Catholics, because if divorce is a sin and you can be excommunicated from the church if you divorce. He encouraged a more compassionate and case-by-case approach to such individuals. And Francis sent a letter to bishops in Argentina on the 5th of September 2016, in which he praised the document they had written that said priests could, in some cases, offer the help of sacraments to Catholics living in irregular family situations as part of the broader effort to support and integrate divorced and remarried Catholics into the life of the church. There are no other interpretations. So he definitely wanted to open the doors to the church for more people, for good or bad, however you see that. He was trying to be more inclusive and not drawing this huge line in the sand, even though the traditionalists were always against him. And this is what I'm saying. Could he have done more? Maybe. But you have to look at it from a pope's perspective. You can't just go in there and burn everything down to the ground and create it anew. I wish you could, and maybe you could, but you probably end up getting killed. I'm not sure. But that religion. Well, I guess if you look at it, religion is not that much different from government. These hierarchies, these systems that are in play, and in a way, he came and tried to do his own thing and right some wrongs. And could he have done more? Absolutely. And I feel like, in a way, that's what makes him a liberal pope, because he did the small incremental change, like the liberals here would do, small incremental change, but nothing like crazy drastic. And with the LD, and he even though he was trying to be more open for the gays into the Catholic Church, he definitely was recorded on using a few slurs in his lifetime. And now the most divisive and controversial topic of the Catholic Church always is handling of sexual abuse. While Francis took steps to hold bishops accountable and created new commissions to investigate abuse, many survivors and advocates say the response remained inadequate. In 2018, his initial defense of Chilean bishop accused of covering up abuse caused international uproar, and he later apologized and admitted he made serious errors in his judgment. So, yeah. Could you have done more? Absolutely. The Catholics are right with sexual abuse. Maybe if you would be more open in letting your priest be more open. Like, I don't understand this backwards thinking. I wasn't raised Catholic. So maybe I can't understand. And I'm definitely not going to become an adult convert. But there's just some things that you can't forgive. I don't understand. And they shuffle them around. It really reminds me of the same kind of system that we have here with the police force. We shuffle these people around. They commit their crimes. They get it covered up. They get moved to another place. So this article ends saying, despite the backlash, Francis remained committed to his vision of a more inclusive, humble, and globally engaged church. His critics within the Vatican often accused him of silent confusion, while supporters argue he's bringing the church closer to the realities of modern life. I'll say that they're both right, because it's a very paradoxical pope. He was, definitely more progressive, but he could have made more steps. Because who knows, the next pope might just come and undo everything that he did anyway. So he could have pushed harder. He could have fought harder. Maybe if we make a comparison, he's the Barack Obama of popes. I think that might be a decent comparison to make. Yeah, the Barack Obama of popes.